Welcome to the Building Web3 Podcast. I have my good friend Guy. He's a co-founder and CEO of Qiibee Foundation. Before we get too deep into Qiibee, tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get into this Web3 world?
Thanks a lot, Jax, for having me, first of all. Pleasure to be here. How did I get in the Web3 world? Honestly, since 2015 to 16, started hearing about Bitcoin, then having one of our investors actually pushing towards, hey, check out blockchain, check out Ethereum, check out that. And then we really got more and more into understanding the technology, understanding the whole space, and understanding also mostly with all the learnings that we did from the loyalty side, how can we actually connect both worlds with each other.
And for people that are unfamiliar, what is Qiibee? Like, what are you guys trying to accomplish there?
Yeah. We're really trying to make the whole rewards economy more liquid. So there are around $500 billion worth of rewards out there that are completely stuck on different accounts. A few $100 billion actually, being issued in reward currencies each year. And again, people not spending them. And mostly it is because people don't know where to use them and what to do with them. So the goal is to make all these points, these reward currencies, interoperable with each other, and through that actually generating more liquidity for it.
And then talk to us a little bit about like how this works in theory. So like I have Amex points because I have one of their credit cards. I might have Chase points. Maybe I have some hotel points. Talk to us a little bit about like what's the current market as it stands, and then what you guys are trying to present as a solution.
Yeah, 100%. Look, at the end of the day, and I think that every technology should have that as a main goal. You want to do 10 to 100x better what has been already done in with an old technology. So where we see a huge amount of value is that currently you have all these different loyalty programs. Like let's take Amex has their loyalty program, Delta has their loyalty program, and they're, for example, one of the biggest conversion partners. So what happens right now is they both have different databases, the so-called points banks, so where all the transactions are from the reward currencies. And at the end of the day, they're both siloed, so no one has actual information about the other side, which means also that every time there is an exchange happening, and we're talking about millions of transactions that are happening each year worth billions of dollars, there is always that reconciliation issue and settlement issue between those two parties. So that means huge amount of costs on both sides with HR costs. So you have a lot of people actually making these reconciliations between the different databases. You have errors in the different invoices that go back and forth, because what a lot of people don't know is that, for example, frequent flyer programs like Delta, like United, Miles and More in Europe, etc., they make money by selling miles to their partners. And that's actually where the whole issue happens. Delta sends an invoice to American Express for each time you, for example, exchange your membership rewards to Delta airline miles. And since you have two different databases and you have the reconciliation issues, there is actually always a difference between what Amex thinks they need to pay and Delta actually, let's say, charges to Amex. So, and that's classic. Like it's the same topic with what Swift does for banks. If I send you money, they need to reconcile those transactions. That's why I actually have Swift in between, right? And right now that happens, let's say, fairly based on legacy infrastructures. And where really blockchain gives you 100x more efficient processes, that you have that one source of truth between those two stakeholders, where you tokenize both currencies on one decentralized database, if you want to call it like that. And through that, you have not only zero reconciliation costs for both parties and also an instant settlement, but you actually also have an instant exchange for users. Because most of the times, these transactions, if you want to exchange from one loyalty program to the other, they take, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, depending a bit on what their structure is and how the process is. It takes quite a bit of time. So you can't use instantly those points, which at the end of the day is purchasing power. It's if like you want to exchange from USD to euros to buy something, you would have to wait 2-3 days until that euro is on your account. That slows the whole purchasing process for you, means also less liquidity.
So let's walk through the life of a transaction. We always used to love this exercise at BlackRock. So let's say I'm going to go to Singapore. I've got to buy a flight. I've got to buy a hotel, and maybe I have some existing flights. Talk to us a little bit about like how in qiibee system, all of these things would be registered on, I guess, the provider's perspective and on my own personal perspective?
So we're just in the background. We're managing the whole backend, the infrastructure part of the points bank. So your user data is not on chain, on our chain, but actually only the loyalty currencies on our own chain. And also their brands can actually choose if they want to put it fully on our blockchain or if they want to let it go in parallel. Which also, of course, if you have very large brands, they don't want to put directly all their points on chain, so you can let it go in parallel where actually these transactions where an exchange happens, again, provide that source of truth, so no reconciliation costs for the brands, right? But on the other side, you as a user, you don't have to go through qiibee, meaning that you would be in the, let's say, membership rewards program, right? You still have your choice there to exchange with Delta. What now happens is that you actually have an instant exchange, so you exchange now, a few seconds later, you have it on your Delta account. So you don't have to download qiibee or do anything in between. We're just sitting in the background and really making the whole process 100x more efficient for brands and for you as a user.
Got it. So it's infrastructure for the brand specifically. So we mentioned a few problems that it's solving. One is the reconciliation between, it's like kind of the points redemption and the invoice that then gets sent to
Correct.
I guess we'll call them like the points provider. And then
Correct.
was there a secondary issue? Because there was some kind of exchange in terms of liquidity for the points themselves.
So, that's the main issue for the users because, again, you have a speed topic. So if you have to wait 2-3 days until you actually get your miles, that means you can't book the flight right now. And mostly people, it happens in the moment. You don't plan to exchange your points because you know you want to book the flight, but you're booking a flight right now. And then you think about, wait, I have some membership rewards, for example, or some other points on another credit card or another program, and I want to exchange them now in miles. So what then happens is if you have to wait a few days until you actually get those miles, and that happened actually to me a few times, price goes up of the flight. So the whole exchange of points to miles doesn't even make sense. And mostly what happens is people don't really then care about it, but they just say, okay, you know what, I'll just pay it in cash and then it's done. Or I just pay that part with miles that I can, and I leave the other side be. But if you have that instant liquidity of your points and your miles, that actually helps you out to use them also more, meaning you also engage more with those programs. And there are different studies that say the more you can use those points or those miles, the more you actually will engage with the brand, meaning buy more stuff and have the incentive to earn more points, which makes completely sense. Like if you can't use a currency, you're not really incentivized to earn that currency.
Got it. And then there's a QBX token, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about like the utility, like what does it support?
Main utility of the token is acting as a gas fee on our chain. So every time a brand wants to, let's say, create their loyalty token, they want to issue loyalty token to their customers, or their customers actually spend tokens, like loyalty tokens, the points of these brands, plus they want to exchange them. So every time they want to make a transaction on chain, the brand actually uses tokens as a gas fee, our qiibee token as a gas fee. Now, what we do is, because most Web2 brands, you can't tell them, hey, buy qiibeex to then pay the gas fee. That would be a bit too far and a bit too cryptic for them. So what we do is everything in the background for them. And in theory, it's the same thing as a SaaS business does for you as a company, because it's not that they say, hey, you have to pay this much for the technology, and then at the end of the month, we will send you an AWS bill for the infrastructure that we're using, right? But it's like cost of goods sold that comes into your pricing, and the same thing, we're actually offering it to these brands. So it's all packaged in a SaaS fee, and then in the background we actually manage the gas fees for these brands.
Yeah, that always
that's the
makes
biggest
a lot more sense to pay it that way. And then talk to us a little bit about some of the partnerships that you guys have formed, because obviously this is going to be working with like bigger brands.
Yeah. So the largest program that we have on board right now is Miles and More. So the frequent flyer program of Lufthansa. They were really actively helping out to bring more partners on board, either conversion partners. So the latest conversion partner that we brought on board is Forbes Web3, which is actually using our loyalty white label solution and has an integration where you can exchange Forbes points into Miles for Miles and More. Or on the other side, we can actually also do direct partnerships. One of the partners that are actually going live now in, I think, end of October, starting of November, is, for example, one of the largest German fashion e-commerce stores. It's called Fashionette. So there you will be able to purchase their goods and then earn directly miles for Miles and More, or actually also spend your miles on a purchase, which at the end of the day also generates more liquidity because you have more partners where you spend your points on. And of course, you can make a mix between miles and cash. So you always have that liquidity of these miles. Those are for sure, let's say, the most recent and largest partnerships. We also had a pilot with Coca-Cola here in Switzerland. We've onboarded Renault last year, the car manufacturer. We have a few, I'd say, larger partnerships on board. Also, Etihad Gas is one of our partners that where you can earn miles from Etihad Gas, which is also integrated in Forbes as an example. We will launch now in also at the beginning of November, actually a US insurance group, which does around $3 billion revenue and has 35 million customers. They're using also our white label solution, have different exchange options in there. And working more than a year on that one. So very happy to see it coming to life.
And when you mentioned the white label solution, what exactly do you mean by that for people that aren't familiar with white labels?
Sure. So brands that don't have their own loyalty program, they can actually use our loyalty white label where they, I'm saying, just have to brand it. They define the loyalty mechanism. So how can you earn? How can you spend? And the cool thing is actually that it is completely integrated with our rewards marketplace. So if you have a loyalty program, fairly simple, you take our API and then you choose with which other rewards you want to, let's say, connect your loyalty program. If you don't have a loyalty program, you can use our white label and then everything is set up and you just have to design loyalty mechanics and what rewards you want to have in there.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about like the future of like loyalty rewards as you see them in Web3. Do you feel like, where do you guys feel like you'll be in the next 3 years? Where do you feel like loyalty programs will be in the next few years?
Yeah. So let's start with loyalty programs themselves, and then because that's say where we believe the market goes, and that's also how we are seeing our roadmap. We see that loyalty programs themselves become more and more important for brands, and that there will be more and more loyalty programs. Because also, if you think about the whole data topic today, where a Facebook or let's say a Meta, a Google, also all kinds of other platforms are giving you less and less access to data of your customers, that means that your relationship is wider and wider and wider because you don't have that much information about your customers, meaning you don't really know what they want, what they like, and what they actually, where they want to go. So loyalty programs give you first off a direct relationship to your customers, right? So it's not just giving them an incentive to buy more of your products and showing them a cool redemption shop and let's say redemption options. It's really to having that direct line. So that's why we believe more and more brands will have loyalty programs to have that direct relationship. That being said, you will have more and more loyalty currencies out there. And what we really believe is that these loyalty programs, and you see that already now, the largest programs, they do partnerships, they connect with each other, they have partners where you can earn and spend your points. That will only grow more and more and more. And the reason why it's not growing right now is that it's really on legacy infrastructure. Exactly right. Reconciliation issues. So the more partners I have, the more reconciliation issues I have, right? Integration with certain partners takes 1 to 2 years if you want to integrate directly with them. So if you want to integrate with a Delta airline today, it will take at least 1 or 2 years. And you have to pay a lot of money from a minimum volume perspective to actually get them excited, right? So that's where we actually come in play. We make that program, that the whole process really 100x more efficient. Means that you as a frequent flyer program or as a loyalty program, loyalty currency issuer, you can integrate partners at scale. You have less costs on the reconciliation side, on the management of those partners. That also means that you can onboard many more smaller partners that before you wouldn't have taken on board. Now, by having more partners, users actually have more options to earn and spend their points. And so that's really where the whole, let's say, flywheel starts making a lot of sense, and where we also see us in the next 3 to 5 years, really connecting all these loyalty programs together and all these merchants with these loyalty programs and giving users instant exchange options, and giving them more options to earn and spend the rewards. And with all of that, just more liquidity and more purchasing power in their pockets.
Got it. And then finally, like, are there any milestones you guys have coming up? Anything like the community should kind of be aware of from you guys?
So I don't know if you heard that. My laptop just pinged. So the most important milestones in the next a few months are really at the end of the day further developing the product. We have different features on the roadmap that we want to continue developing on the loyalty white label side. So getting a few different features in which are more towards gamification. So how can I earn more of these currencies without spending money? So that could be mini games. That could be what a lot is what's super, let's say, hype right now in the Web3 space is doing all these questing campaigns where I can follow you on Twitter, I get something, I create content and I get something. We have with Insurance Group now, for example, some topics about do healthy activities and earn points. So going more and more in that direction because users will just create more engagement and brands at the end of the day want you to see more on their programs. On the other side, we have a few partnerships lined up that we're working on and that we want to launch in the next couple of months. As I mentioned, the Insurance Group, we're talking to a very large soccer club from Germany that they want to connect to Miles and More. So that is also a big project. And then, of course, more from the Web3 side, we're looking at our TGE. So talking to different exchanges, preparing the whole marketing side, and also really seeing how the TGE can be as much connected with the whole strategy from the business side so that we can actually get the most value out of it. Plus, we'll also launch our own loyalty program with the TGE, where token holders are able to stake their tokens. The more tokens they stake, the higher their tier, and the more staking rewards they will get, the more cashback they will get, the more let's say rewards will be unlocked for them. So really using all the solution, all the value that we've built for now other partners and brands, also to reward then our holders.
Very exciting. And then finally, where can people learn more about you guys? Where can they connect with you personally online?
I mean, of course, on X or Twitter, formerly Twitter, it's always in brackets. So they're on the qiibee Foundation. You have, let's say, everything Web3. On the qiibee profile, you have all the B2B side. And then, of course, on my personal profile, I have to say I have to push a bit more that founder funnel. So I need to produce a bit more of my own content, but that will come also in the next few months. And then, of course, our website. So if you're interested more on the B2B side, it's qiibee.com. There you see all our solutions that you can use as a brand. And then on the qiibeefoundation.org site, you find all news and all information about the token, about the whole infrastructure, and about the Qiibee XIP Club, which is the loyalty program for holders.
Awesome. Well, everyone, go get involved with the company. Go follow them on X, of course, and let's be excited for some of the new upcoming milestones. And let's continue building the future Web3.